No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. Also, quite frequently the most incestuous podcast in the world, because today I'm interviewing my co-host, Robesman.
No Jumper.
No Jumper. So why are we doing this interview? You're going through some big changes in your life. Things are changing for the Robesman.
Well, I kind of just fell into this thing where I started helping you interview people, you know? Mm-hmm. And people are like, who the fuck is this guy?
Right. A fair question.
So
people ask who I am as well. They don't seem to know.
And it's like, no one's really paying that much attention to anything. So I just figure, why not just put one thing out there, and if anyone needs
a reference for them.
Yeah, it's almost going to be like my video resume up to this point in my life. You know, I just figured do this, and if anyone wants to learn anything or know anything about me, they can check this one out.
That's what I'm saying. It's good to just have that for people who are fans of the podcast, so they can just figure out what you have going on.
Yeah, you can really utilize this space to do that. Some people don't, though. I mean, as we found out sitting in those chairs. It's weird sitting in the hot seat. First off, thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, my pleasure.
I'm a big fan. And I like and subscribe, you know?
Yeah, definitely like and subscribe. And also subscribe to Robesman's channel if you get a chance.
Yes, I just started a new vlogging channel, which is just like kind of an experiment.
About 1,200 subscribers already. It's pretty strong numbers.
Yeah, I got that in 3 days. It was crazy because I didn't realize there was even a demand or like a base for that.
Right.
But I just realized that sitting next to you in that chair talking to different people are like, wait, what the fuck is this guy's deal? Like, what's he doing or whatever? So it's like we don't just chill. I mean, it kind of started this way. We started chilling just in this setting.
Right.
But then it was like, all right, let's hang out outside the podcast. And we started like the lives became intertwined, and it was like, why not just give the kids some more content?
Well, it's interesting too, because I don't feel like almost anybody in like the sort of like hipster, like LA cool kid underground type world that we sort of are part of, I don't think most of them know about vlogging. And I don't know anybody else who really does it.
It's funny as hell because, okay, like I'll start from the end and go back to the beginning, but like I recently quit my job.
Right.
It was just 7 years of a lot of good stuff, a lot of learning, but I kind of hit the ceiling of what I could do in growth in that specific company. I really feel like I was this guy's assistant when I started, and I moved all the way up to being like the general manager of his company.
Right.
But it's a very small company, and I think when you're someone's assistant, it's very hard to get out of that role. The person that you work for maybe will never fully see you as any, like they'll always kind of see you as that assistant role. And eventually you kind of got to spread your wings and fly. There are career assistants out there. I know ladies working in the music industry and guys that have been with their boss for 20, 25 years, making $160,000 a year, doing everything under the sun for the guy, like, and just being the right-hand man, you know, in a sense. But still, the title of that person is assistant.
Right.
And in a way, I guess titles are kind of important. But
there was a point in your career where you were totally happy to be an assistant, right?
I was happy to be a fucking unpaid intern.
Right.
I was just so hungry to get out and work in music that I would do anything. You know.
Okay, so you graduate college, and then your attitude is just what? Like, I want to work in the music industry. What did you? I mean, now I'm going back too far, but
no, let's go all the way back. So, like, I was born in Hinsdale, Illinois, in 1985 on March 8th, and I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago.
Right.
So I had like a pretty standard suburban upbringing. I guess everyone thinks their upbringing is standard, but mine really is kind of like just, you know, all my friends and their families had houses, and I don't know, that was just like the norm suburban shit that you kind of see like sitcoms made about or whatever, you know. I did all that, went to high school out there. I have an older sister, a younger sister, and then my dad like put a big emphasis on education.
Same. Very huge emphasis on education from my family, which I completely disregarded, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I listen to my parents. They're successful. They do well. They kind of bettered their circumstances through education, so they really believe in it. That's when that shit worked. Like, my mom and dad are both from the south side of Chicago, and they both grew up in like really small, cramped apartments with like tons of brothers and sisters, and they had to find a way to get the hell out, you know, because it was just you couldn't really do it. Like they're like my dad's parents are from Poland,
right,
and they didn't speak that great of English, and neither do I apparently, and he was just like having to find ways to better his situation. So it was all about education. So he was like the captain of his chess team in high school.
There's a lot of social mobility at that time, whereas now it seems like that American dream of like you can go from lower class to upper middle class like just sort of gone away for a lot of people. But at the time, the economy was thriving in such a way that our parents came away from it fully confident in education.
I've lived in LA 8 years. Not once has someone said, "Let me see your degree."
Right.
It just isn't a question. It's like, because in the music industry, like, they don't give a shit.
Right.
Like, the most powerful guy in music, arguably, is Irving Azoff, and no degree.
Who's
no
he?
one gives a shit. He was like he managed the Eagles for years, and then
Okay.
he kind of built this giant management company called Frontline Managements, where I started working when I first moved in LA.
Right.
And he just rolled up all these management companies under his own company and has tons of artists. He was the CEO of Live Nation. He helped them merge with Ticketmaster. He's just like an amazing, powerful force in music.
Right.
But no degree.
Right.
You don't need it, you know?
Totally.
But yeah, like, parents were always like focused on that shit. They wanted, like, you know, go to college, get your degree, you can get a job. And I always knew I wanted to make money, you know, but I didn't really ever decide how I wanted to make money until I was like 21.
Right.
And by that time, I was like 3 years into school. I went to Northwestern in Evanston. I was like studying industrial engineering and econ.
And did you think that was going to make you happy at a certain point, that you were going to go to school for that and it was going to work out?
I wasn't thinking. I was just kind of going along.
Right.
You know, I wasn't like trying. I was kind of trying to figure out what the hell.
You're a kid. You got to do something.
Exactly.
You really have no idea what to do.
If you're on a college path, like from 0 to 22, your life is set.
Right.
And then at 23, it's just go figure it out.
Right.
So, thankfully, when I was 21, my friend's band got signed. They're called Power Space. They got signed to Fueled by Ramen. This was like right around the time when it was Fall Out Boy was popping off and Panic at the Disco and that whole pop punk scene was going on.
Right.
And they got signed to that label, and they were like, "Hey, you're the smartest kid we know. Do you want to be our tour manager?" And I was like, "Yeah."
And you're fresh out of school at this point.
Still in school.
Oh, still in school. Okay.
I'm still in school. I get asked to be their tour manager. They get booked to South by Southwest and like a nationwide tour right away. Because at that time in like 07, it was just like get on the road and go.
Right.
You know, they were the first of 5 getting $100 a night for a show.
And were they big at all? Were they popular yet?
They had just like one EP that kind of got hot on MySpace. And AbsolutePunk.net was a big player in that.
Right. But they had the label supporting them to like go on tour and everything?
Barely.
Right.
I mean, that deal was like, it was such a broke.
But how much were they drawing? And they weren't headlining, right?
They were first of 5 getting $100 a night.
Oh, first of 5. Okay.
Yeah, the 5 bands.
Oh, the whole band getting 100. Okay.
Yeah, I'm so jealous of DJs these days because you just walk in with your thing, plug in your USBs, and take $100,000 home.
Or rappers.
You got to load in so much fucking gear, sound check. You got a backline with other different like bands.
And what do bands do once they start to get money? It's like, oh, I have a guitar tech, and he has a fucking bass tech, and all this, like, just bringing more people into the fray. It's
Exactly.
crazy.
Yeah, you get like, and everyone. I mean, like the guys in the Eagles each have their own personal tour bus and shit like that, and their personal tour managers.
Personal tour bus. That's crazy.
Yeah, because you want that back lounge to be your bedroom. So they get signed, and I'm like, fuck it, I got to go. Like,
Brought
this
up
is
the Eagles twice already, by the way.
They're kind of a big part of my life in a sense, because like that first management company job led to my next job. So it was like knowing who the Eagles were and knowing kind of their success story was a really big part of
I couldn't name one song.
Hotel
okay?
California.
There you go.
Yeah. So they get signed, and I'm like, shit, this is an opportunity. I have to go. I finally found something I want to do.
Right.
And it's just everything in that moment became like fucking focused and clear. So I have to tell my parents now, who have been very supportive of all my educational shit. You know, great parents. Shout out my parents.
But you were about to bail out on school?
I did. I told them, I said, look, I'm going to go on the road with this band as their tour manager, and I'm going to finish school later. My mom cried for 3 days.
I bet.
Like sobbing.
Right.
And I was like, I felt horrible, but like my dad, like, he was just like, I get it, you know?
Right.
He was like, you got to finish, but I get it, you know? I did some independent studies of tour management on the road to get more credits while I was doing it.
Okay.
And I went out and I toured for 1 year. We paid ourselves $10 a day in our per diems. Like I was totally like, at that, my parents cut me off. Like they were like, you want to do that? Go ahead. You know, I had $300.
Right.
But we did it. We survived. We figured it out. We slept on the floors of the fans that came out to see the band. You know, we sold merch. Like I sold the merch. I helped design the merch. That's kind of where the idea for branding and stuff came into play.
So you're basically doing everything aside from being in the band?
Yeah, but we treated it like a democracy, so we'd split up all the money at the end of the tour.
And did you guys beef a lot, or was it a pretty smooth sailing?
It was smooth sailing for 1 year. Hold on one sec. But you
Shout
really
out to the sponsors.
You really get to LaCroix labels out.
Tried it today. Hate it.
You really get to know somebody when you travel with them, and like these guys got to know each other. We got to know each other really well, and one of the guys just didn't like being on the road. He just didn't like it. He
Right.
couldn't sleep in the van, which is a huge part of the touring.
Yeah.
Imagine not being able to sleep in the van on a 12-hour ride overnight.
I would say that like almost everybody is not suited to be in a band.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's the most ridiculous thing, especially a poor band. Like, you have your own hotel room, fine. You're
like,
chilling.
I mean, me being like 22 years old, it was the most fun year and best year of my life for like learning and growing and all that
Hijinks,
shit.
were you getting fucked up and fucking tons of girls, or how was that?
I had a girlfriend the entire time I was touring.
And you were faithful?
Very faithful.
Wow, okay.
In retrospect, is a horrible decision. Like one time we were in Florida, and like I cuddled with a girl one night, and the next day I was like so ashamed of myself and felt so bad that I did the entire drive, like 8 hours up the coast to the next state or whatever, and I called it the drive of shame.
Wow.
You know, I was like, because I was just like, I was about that life or whatever, you know.
When I was younger, yeah, I remember it seemed like much more of a thing to be like a good person who like cared about their girlfriend and stuff. I don't remember what happened to that really.
This girl I dated back in the day was like just a super stable, normal girl that I would hate.
We all have that
and she
at
never,
one point, yeah.
she never treated me bad. You
Right.
know, like it was always like she was the best. You
Right.
know, but yeah, I did the entire first year of touring or whatever. Got back, finished my college, got my degree, and then I was like, fuck, now I got to figure it out. So I was like, I was a tour manager.
But it was obvious you weren't going to continue being a tour manager of that band, or what?
It wasn't like a paid gig at that point.
Yeah.
Still, it was still kind of like, hey, just come help us out. You know, we're all broke, so you're gonna be broke too.
And did they get way more popular over the course of this year touring, or was it pretty stable?
They got more popular, and then they had some member lineup changes, and they eventually switched and became a different band, and I ended up actually managing the second band.
Okay.
But that's like a different part of the story, because after I got off the road with them, I got my degree done, and then I was like, shit, I got to find a job.
Right.
And I knew all the music jobs are New York and LA.
Uh-huh.
I've been to both cities. We've been to every city in the U.S. I've seen every fucking city in the U.S. that's like a major city, you know, from like Helena, Montana, all the way, you know, to New York.
Right.
And LA was always like we look forward to the LA stop every single time. New York's cool too. It's just hectic.
Yeah.
So I put out
And cold.
Yeah, my dad was like, all right, here's what's going to happen. He's like, you got to find a job in like 3 months. He's like, if you want to go to LA, you have to get interviews lined up. You have to figure shit out. We're not just going to let you go out there and just figure it out once you're there. So I set up all these interviews, and I like faked in my resume. I put an LA address,
Right. Okay.
to kind of like, I didn't want to freak anybody out, like I'm coming out for an internship or whatever. And I scammed my way into a bunch of different interviews, and eventually ended up landing an unpaid internship. At that point, I was like, all right, Dad, I'm going. He's like, all right, here's $1,000 loan, and you have like a month to turn that into a paid internship.
And you obviously knew that this wasn't going to happen, right?
What do you mean?
Like, you don't start getting paid from an unpaid internship in a month.
I did.
You did, really?
I had no choice.
Okay.
I drove out here, my grandma's old car, with $1,000 in May 15th, 2008, and I've been here ever since.
Where were you staying?
My friend's couch.
Okay.
So like, thankfully, I had my friend's couch. I paid him like $350 a month in rent. I was on that couch for like 9 months, but my unpaid internship became a paid internship. 2 days later, it became a front desk receptionist job.
Right.
And then 6 months later, it became like a full-time job.
Wow.
I just had to fucking go.
What do you credit to yourself being able to rise up in the company that easily? And where was the internship?
It was at Frontline.
Doing what kind of stuff?
Interns just like do anything really. I mean, like it wasn't too huge. It was like the receptionist job there is important, because if Britney Spears walks in,
Right.
then
POC for her.
there
yeah.
needs to be someone at the front desk to let her in, be like, hi, welcome, or whatever, you know.
Right.
So if the receptionist has to go pee, the intern has to sit in that desk.
Okay.
So, you know, I did that, and then we went up to the next level, which was I was working for an independent radio promoter, and the guy who kind of ran promotion of the entire company. And that is like a more interesting, intricate part, and that's what I've been doing for the past 7 years. That tied in with like a label, tied in with management.
Right.
And I don't know, we worked with tons of different artists. We've, you know, helped different things go to radio. I really learned like a lot of ins and outs of like what happens with major labels and their relationship with radio stations and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I really loved helping all the artists, you know.
So you're stuck in this weird, like, archaic system of like getting songs on the radio, and I'm assuming that you kind of realize that it's a bizarre bullshit fucking industry to be in, right?
Yeah, it's okay. There's a certain mentality of a guy who's a radio promotion guy, and that's very high energy. That's like, hey, how you doing? It's John in the morning. What's going on? You know, those are the guys.
So even the guys who aren't on the radio are like that?
The guys who aren't on the radio are 10 times more aggressive than the guys on the radio.
Okay.
Because the guys not on the radio have literally one job, and it's fucking play this song as much as possible this entire week.
Right.
And they're so aggressive, and they're so nervous for their spins to go backwards, because the way radio works is like every week your spins have to build.
Right.
And if they go backwards one week when the published chart comes out, which is all tracked by this website called Mediabase,
Yeah.
if you go down, then stations go, oh, that song's not working. It's not reacting or not calling out, and they start dropping it.
Right.
So it's like every week is like you're just nervous. You want to be up and up and up and spin so you can keep going.
And you were that guy?
Kind of. We were an independent promotion company, so we were the liaison between the major label and the radio station.
Right.
Like, we kind of build ourselves as more of a concierge service for radio stations. So if you're really in a really small market, the interesting thing about the radio chart is that one spin in like Corpus Christi, Texas, at least for pop radio, equals one spin in New York City.
Right.
But like, that doesn't really make sense if you really think about it, you know?
Right.
Because like country does an audience chart, so one spin in New York is like worth 50 times as much as a spin in a small market.
Right.
But we would go to the smaller stations and say, hey, if you guys need help, instead of talking to 14 different labels every single week about their new releases, come and talk to us. Make one phone call, and we can sort it all out for you and help you get all the different things you need done for your station.
So in terms of programming, you basically just like simplify the whole process for them, but in reality, you guys are only representing artists that you have business relationships with, right?
No. We simplify the process for radio stations, and we are hired by major labels to help promote their songs to the radio stations we have exclusive relationships with. Mm-hmm. Through all those connections, and through having good relationships with these radio stations, we're also able to help the artists that we have on our specific label, which is why this girl we work with, Dea, who's on that song Don't Let Me Down with the Chainsmokers,
Right.
she got hot so fast because she had a hit song right from the start. And our company took that right to radio, and it just started reacting, meaning people, like a good way to see if a song's reacting or not on radio is like check the Shazams in that market. If you can look at Shazams in any city, and like, well, people are clicking like, what song is this? What
Anybody
song is this?
can, or you guys could?
Anybody can.
Okay.
Yeah, you get the Shazam app or whatever, and you think about where people are Shazamming stuff. It's in their car listening to the radio
Right.
mostly, sometimes like I guess in the club or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, she really took off through the power of radio, and everything kind of came next, which is a really weird way to do it, because major labels are very nervous because it's so costly to take an artist to radio,
Right.
that they want to make sure that the socials are 1 million followers. They want to make sure that everything's lined up, all the viral shit's ready to go, all the videos are ready
And
to
then
go.
they spend money trying to get on the radio.
Yeah, because it's not just like let's hire independent guys to push it to radio, and let's do different promotions and stuff like that to go promote the music. It's also, these stations want the artist to come into the market. So you think about, if you got a band, if you're a major label and you have like a band you're promoting, that's like 5 plane tickets just to go to one market times by like 146 stations.
Right.
It's expensive as hell.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always work.
Right.
That's why it's just so hard to take independent artists to radio, and everyone feels like so boxed out by it.
Right.
But
is it weird for you dealing with these radio stations that basically are completely like their behavior is completely predicted by the numbers, and that there's absolutely no room? Did you feel like a bad guy doing this job?
Man, that's an interesting question. I mean, not really, because I knew ultimately, like, we're hired by the labels. It's a weird relationship. Your client is the station. Without the station, we can't make money,
Right.
get hired. But without the labels hiring us, then they're also the client too.
Right.
So we were trying to always mitigate fights. We were always like being the mediators, because we would see stuff like this happen, a radio guy would be promised, let's say, like a Kesha concert.
Right.
Okay, by a major label.
Promise like a free concert in exchange for radio play?
No, nothing's in exchange for radio play.
Okay.
But somehow the play just happens,
Right.
So, or let's just say, yeah, like you'd be promised the Kesha concert, and then all of a sudden, the concert doesn't happen. So now this guy is pissed at this label.
Right.
So he goes, fuck that. I'm not playing Kesh anymore. And I'm not going to play any songs off that label. Now the label's like, what the fuck? Why is the station not playing our shit?
That kind of stuff would happen all the time, and you guys would have to be the in-between?
Because if they don't play their shit and we can't promote their shit, that's another like thing that we can't get paid on.
Right.
And we're just trying to have everyone kind of get along, you know, and just
Right.
figure it out. So,
And this is all being done to circumvent the laws that make it illegal for radio stations to take money from artists.
yeah, you cannot do anything in exchange. Nothing is in exchange for airplay.
Right.
You know?
It's weird, though, because that in comparison to the internet, where that happens constantly and that there's absolutely no rule. Like, technically, you're supposed to, say when you're getting paid for an advertisement, but in reality, the vast, vast majority of people don't.
Yeah, I saw that thing on like YouTube. You're supposed to click, is there any paid advertisements in this?
Yeah. Or like a music blog is getting all these advertisements from labels, and they never have to reveal that they're posting stuff because the labels got a relationship with them.
Yeah, the internet is really the wild, wild west, and it's
Yeah.
really like,
Because those laws are from the 50s or 60s or whatever, right?
yeah, it's like the next frontier of shit. And it's like, it just seems like, I mean, in my opinion, like radio is always going to be around. It's always going to have like a foothold and stuff. But it's going to morph and change. And like, we're really seeing like Spotify playlisting
Right.
kind of having a big impact on things. Like, and also you'll see it too, like in YouTube, like if you get played right after a video, I noticed like when I click like any music video, like in like if I let it autoplay on a music video, like 3 videos later, I'll just get to the same huge major label artist or whatever, because they buy
really?
those like playlisting spots and all that stuff.
Oh, that's interesting. I never thought about that.
So yeah, I mean, I loved working with artists. I loved helping all these stations. I loved helping the labels. I had tons of experience. The guy I worked for is an absolute beast.
Mm-hmm.
He was really, really good at his job, and like he taught me a ton. But it just came time to make a change. So now I'm sitting here, unemployed as fuck. What I think I might want to do, because it's kind of where I started, is maybe go back out on the road and be a tour manager again.
Really?
Maybe do some video stuff for artists. Like help. I just feel like a lot of artists don't really know exactly how to build a brand.
Right.
So let me go back to a thing that I started in 2013, which is called Robesman.
Right. And
Like-
I guess you should probably explain where the Robesman name comes from, since it's
Yeah.
not terribly intuitive.
Yeah, Robesman was like you on your knuckles. What does it say?
Basement.
And that is like from like 8 different nicknames getting morphed.
Basically, yeah.
That's the same thing with Robesman. Is like my government is Robert, and I've always been called Bob my entire life.
All right.
But college became like Bob became Bobo, became Bobes, became Bobesman, and then one time I think my friend said, "Oh, you're a regular Robesman," and that was just funny to me. Anything Zmin is funny to me.
Yeah.
Like Coxman is great.
Coxman.
You
Like
know?
that, yeah.
Yeah.
Swordsman.
Yeah, and I just like I knew I wanted a brand name that was when someone Googles it, I'm it.
Right. Which
And I
is a
can get
struggle.
all the social medias for it, so I just snatched them all up.
Right.
And while I was on the road with that band Power Space, I was designing merch, hucking merch, seeing how easily merch sells.
Right.
Even shitty merch.
Yeah.
And I was like, God damn, this is like, I wish I could just like make something cool, or like, make something kind of for my own thing. And also, while we were on the road, the label was constantly like, give us content. We need more content. Please give us content, to the point where we'd make fun of them for how much they asked for content. We just said everything was content. This was like
Right.
2007. But Fueled by Ramen, to their credit, had like one of the best popping like visionary YouTube channels of all the labels. They just put everything from their artists on their shit, and they got millions and millions of subscribers off of that,
That's dope.
So they were getting checks off of that. But we didn't know that. We're
Right.
just kids in a van, like just trying to have fun, worrying about where we're going to sleep. But what we would do, and this is why it's funny that I'm vlogging right now, is we would do tour updates,
Right.
which is a vlog. And I would cut those up. I would film all those, and I'd cut them up. If you want to see one, search Power Space Holiday Greeting.
Right.
It's like a Christmas video we made at Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, it was just always fun for me. That was like a really exciting thing. Is like, and even after I got off tour, I was still like cutting up vlogs and doing all that shit when I would go out with my friends at night. Like, I love videos, I love content, I love all that stuff. But getting frustrated with the band, with like, these guys all had Twitter accounts and like, MySpace, but they didn't really know how to utilize them or think that it was even important to utilize them. A lot of people get kind of precious with their stuff. Like, you'll see artists that think they're gonna be the next like Gasoffelstein or something like that, like a mysterious DJ type who doesn't say too much, you know.
Right. So they'll tweet once a week and.
Yeah, and it's kind of, if you can do it, that's sick. Because
Yeah.
then you're like, you're better than us.
But that's only going to make you cool if you are already so cool that your cool is overwhelming.
The art has to be there. If you are
Yeah.
making fucking masterpieces, go ahead and be mysterious.
Right.
But if your shit might be anywhere in the middle or less than a masterpiece, I would say get exposed
But
more.
there's also like the crazy thing of like over tweeting that so many rappers do, where they're retweeting everything. They're just on there way too much, and I think that could fuck up your image really easily too.
Yeah, it's definitely a balance. It's really funny, yeah, when I tweet at some of my rapper friends and I know this is getting retweeted, and it's like, dude, I was just replying to you. Like, you don't have to show everybody.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck it. I want to become a brand myself. Like, I want to build a brand, make myself into a brand, see if I can do it. It can't be that hard, I thought, you know?
Mhm.
And I was like, let's just fucking go for it. It's going to be, I wanted to, like, whenever an artist would put out, like, a record or whatever, they were always so nervous and they always were, like, hesitant and they always had so many changes. And I was like, it can't be that scary to put something out creatively. So I was like, my first idea for the brand was, like, I'm going to put out 9 shirts, 9 different designs. And I'm also going to have these 9 different designs painted onto 4-foot by 4-foot paintings.
I.e., your living room now.
It's my living room now.
Right.
And I wanted to have each shirt be hand numbered 1 through 75. So the shirts are actually the prints instead of like an art piece, you know?
Right.
And I wanted to do an art show and the fucking I had all these ideas or whatever. Well, turns out no one's going to give you a fucking gallery if you have like 10 Twitter followers and no one knows who the fuck you are. Like, I invested like $6,000 into myself right from the start.
Into the shirts.
Yeah. I always believed in myself from the start. And I failed horribly with that first run.
But you weren't able to sell them anywhere?
I found a way. See, that's
How?
the thing. My friend worked at a menswear website called Tapiture.
That's a lot of shirts, too, by the way.
675 shirts.
That's a lot for your first run.
For my first run. If you're watching out there, do not do that.
50, 80, 100, something might be a little better. Yeah.
Yeah, start small. So
Always sell out. You always want to sell out. You never want to have leftovers when it comes to merch in particular.
Yeah, definitely. My friend had a website, or a website he worked for called Tapiture, which is like a curated menswear website. And for some reason, like, I submitted my shit, and they picked up like 4 of the designs. So I sold out of all of those designs. You know, like, I realized the number of, literally merch sales too, especially even for bands. It's just like the number of eyes you can get on the product. That's like the number of, like, the more potential sales. I guess
Yeah.
it makes sense intuitively, but like, if you just get your product in a big enough space, you're gonna sell some shit.
Right.
I had no space at all though until I had that website helping with me.
Right.
So what I was doing was I was just reaching out. This was like, 2013 Instagram. There was no DMs. I was in the comments like a thirsty motherfucker. Like, hey, can I send you a shirt? I love whatever you're doing. And I
To
started
who?
with
To random celebrities or whatever?
I started with hot girls. I got a lot of hot girls were down as hell back in 2013 because they weren't getting paid detox tea shit.
Right.
So they're like, yeah, hell yeah, I'll do it. I'll post a picture. And I got some love off of that. Then I got like all of my shirts sent to Dylan Francis. And I was like, oh, I'm fucking set now. He's, and he was wearing them in the shows and he was wearing them everywhere, I sold like 5 off of Dylan Francis probably.
Well, he wasn't shutting you out and tagging you, right?
He was. He was
did.
shot me on. He said, I only wear Robesman shirts now.
Wow.
He tweeted that. But it wasn't like, my shit was still so small on my own account.
Right.
And also my shit wasn't branded back then. I started with like really simple kind of cartoony designs. And it just like wasn't that obvious, like where to go and get this or what this is or whatever.
And kids think that like, oh, one Dylan Francis tweet is going to change my whole life, but it's not.
Kids think kids think a lot of shit. Probably a No Jumper interview might change their whole life.
It'll
This
change
is-
your week.
This is just a small part of like a giant, massive
Exactly.
picture.
Yeah.
So after that, I think eventually, I spent $6,000. I made $4,000. I took the hit. After that, I was like, I'm gonna scale everything back. I'm gonna do one piece at a time, limited runs, more serious, more branded. It's more streetwear, but it's not like that serious. Like the shirt that I'm wearing right now is
Has a made-up
season
word,
5.
right?
This is basically like a Mexican soccer team I invented in my head. It says FC Gobierno.
I always thought of it as like a weird fake like high fashion shirt that also kind of reminds me of like an MMA shirt or something.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's got
because
like a
the
death
back.
metal logo on the sleeve.
Yeah, that's my logo actually. It says Robesman. But the back is the Pontiac Firebird like Trans Am logo upside down.
Right.
And then it says Venganza, which is revenge in Spanish.
Right.
So this is like a really kind of intense shirt.
But it's very like meta. Like you sort of are expecting people to get the joke and to sort of go for it. Like of you being a clothing company that is being like overtly ambitious and crazy with your ideas, right? It's sort of like the whole thing is sort of like a troll in a way.
Well, I'll be honest. I just think this shirt looks cool.
Right.
I just designed shit that I think looks cool and that I want to wear. And it was from the very start too. Like, you know, you've gotten to shit. Like, it's just been about my friends too. It's like all my friends get my shit for free, and I just kind of like want my people wearing what I'm like putting out there because it's more fun that way. You know, you can't just print one shirt for yourself. I mean, you can, but I was like, I'd rather print like 100 and like have 3 for myself and then see where I go.
See, I like the way that you do it though too, because a lot of kids, they come out with a clothing company and they try to treat it like a business. And yeah, it's really good if you have like the underlying like fundamentals of a business. But with you treating it more like an art project, as more like it's more akin to like somebody doing merch for a band. But
yeah.
the way you do it is in sort of like a non-serious way where like every season is just one shirt. And that's cool to me because it's like it's like doing a mixtape when you're a really, really low level underground artist is kind of a waste, but doing like a whole line of clothing when you're a really small clothing brand is also probably a waste. Like you could put out one shirt and make a big statement with it.
Yeah, and I see different guys. I know there's like skaters and stuff who will just be like printed 50 shirts and put it on Instagram and then sell out in a day or whatever.
And it's really cool how like clothing has gotten to that point because that wasn't available 10 years ago so much.
Yeah, and even Puya was talking about I printed a bunch of hats, they sell it right away, and that's it. But my shit, I wanted to number it from the very start because of Lil Wayne and like how he numbered the Carters. I always thought that was the tightest shit because it's like you're already excited for the next album as the one's already out because you know it's just numbered, you know?
Yeah.
So when people put out limited runs with no kind of like plan, it feels like when's the next one going to happen? Is it going to happen? Are they going to put out a second printing of this one? Should I wait?
And
my
saying
shit's
like
printed.
limited or exclusive in streetwear has gotten kind of cliche because it very rarely actually is.
Yeah, they're always lying. But my shit's printed, done, and gone. And you can't get season 4 anymore.
That's all we do too. We never reprint any OSS stuff.
Yeah, and it's like I think that's a cooler way because you don't want to walk into the club and have like the same shirt as the guy that you're so proud of getting like from 3 years ago and he just got it like yesterday.
And you really want to give them the feeling of like, oh, if you don't buy this when it first comes out, then you're not going to be able to get it. And I'm glad that we have that with OSS where it's like, you got to get it right away. We're not going to make this again.
And it's crazy too because now that it's actually kind of working, I'm kind of making some money off of it. There's like kids out there who are like legitimate fans of like Robesman gear. Like there's this kid, I want to shout out Steve, and I know he's watching this. Like he'll buy like 15 shirts for like his whole squad. Yeah.
Wow, that's tight.
He'll just clear it out.
So how many do you make now when you do shirts?
The last run was like 250.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and so I'm about to do a collaboration with Brandon Wardell, and it'll be out.
Which you already did one, but you're gonna do another one.
We did a long sleeve. It did really well.
Or the pink one?
Yeah. Because when I can collab, especially with Brandon, he's a comedian. I was actually
that one was so funny because it says like designed at Larchmont Pizza.
Yeah.
Or Village Pizza.
Yeah, and I was like hesitant to collab with Brandon because when we first did it, I just thought he was just some scrub.
So you're like best friends with him now, but you didn't know him that well then?
I didn't know him that well, and I was like just joking, like we should collab, and he's like, hell yeah, and I was like, oh shit, and he had the money, and we just split everything right up the middle, you know?
Right.
I did all the designing and shipping, and like he just had to promote, and we were good, but I was kind of like, man, do I want my brand associated with comedians? Is my brand a joke? Because I take it seriously, you know, I like it, I think it's cool, but it turned out like, oh shit, when I do collab with Brandon, have more freedom to do like funny shit.
Right.
I don't like shirts that are jokes, like, you know, what the fuck, you know when someone walks in when their shirt says like some kind of little slogan.
Oh yeah, that sucks.
It's just like it's like very like
it's like Twitter shirts for a while.
Some
it became
shirt
like
that's
every
like
shirt's a tweet
talking about brunch or something.
Oh god, or bacon.
Anything bacon or brunch. It's like some bro printed that somewhere to sell shirts, and it's like, all right, bro, like.
But okay, so you are very, very close to what it's like to be a total nobody trying to start a brand out of nowhere, trying to get some kind of heat, trying to get people to pay attention to what you're doing. What would be like your advice, or like how do you see things from the perspective of a young kid who's really trying to come up and has nothing going for him? Since that was you a couple years ago.
I am a total nobody.
Okay.
Like the fact that I sit next to you, I'm honored every day to sit next to you. I think that's really cool. You let me do that, and I like being here, and I really admire what you did with everything here. So I am nobody, but I realize that if you show up when you say you're going to show up,
right.
That's half the battle, honestly. I mean, just showing up. But if you do that, if you take advice from people who are wiser than, like, I saw you vlogging, and I listened to like Adam LZ sitting right here talking about vlogging and stuff like that, and I was like, I'll give it a fucking try. Like, these guys are making money, they're expanding their brands and all that stuff. So let's give that a try. So you take advice, you show up, and you have to be willing to work for free,
right,
in the beginning, but also kind of realize like what you're doing, and like with especially with brands, you're gonna take a loss. You're gonna have to get the shirts on, because your brand eventually becomes the people who wear it, whether you like to admit it or not. I think that Shane Gonzalez was sitting here, or I think I've seen him tweet, and I love Shane. I think he's seen him tweet like the people who wear my brand don't like represent it or something like that sometimes, but eventually they do,
right.
But I think he's talking about the problematic like kids who don't, but like really embody the ideals of the brand. But your network, the people that are maybe influencers or whatever that you can get your shit, who want to wear your shit, who are proud to wear your shit, that's really going to be your biggest value. So it's not about you sitting. And this is the thing too, is what I realized, and that's what Adam LZ told you. You're like, oh man, you got so many subscribers on YouTube, you got all this different stuff going on with your BMX brand, and OSS is like doing pretty good, but it's like the come up's doing pretty good, but like you're doing really, really, really great. And he's like, well, I'm a person and you're a brand.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to kind of be more of a person now than when I started as just like a brand or whatever.
Right. Because I think that personality, like, people go for that way more than they would ever go for a brand. Like, it's so hard for me to imagine like a cool brand that isn't associated with the founder to some extent in this day and age.
Yeah, no, but there definitely are. There definitely are. But
are.
even when you talk about high fashion, you know all the names, like
right.
like Alexander Wang, that's his name, that's his brand. So, I don't know. I think a young kid starting a brand, start real small.
Right. Yeah.
Don't, if people are hating on you, it's not always bullshit too.
Yeah, you should take the criticism.
Yeah, it's not. You're not always going to be like the best right from the start. Like,
and you're not always going to be, they're not always going to be right, but there's definitely something to be learned from the shit talk.
Yeah, totally. And realize that one big placement on some big celebrity, unless it's Kanye, isn't going to change your life.
Right.
And even if Kanye wears your shirt once, that's not going to change your life.
And if you're just starting your clothing brand out, you really have no business trying to talk to a Kanye or trying to talk to somebody like that. Like with you going for internet hot girls, I mean, that's very like accessible. It's low level, but it does, like, that if there's a hot girl on Instagram with 15,000 followers, that there's probably a couple of rappers who follow her. There's probably some people who are interesting enough. They see it, they might become interested, and you're just planting those seeds over and over.
Yeah, I took shots.
Yeah.
I sent shit to Kanye. I sent shit all over the place. I took shots, but like it's just mostly that package just gets taken by some third assistant somewhere,
right?
Or just never makes it through. You can take a shot, but you have to have the money for it, because each shirt is like some money out of your pocket. So I don't know, man. Kids like building their shit today is interesting.
But you're crazy consistent with like bringing in shirts and giving to the guests, which is something that like I see it myself is like I'm fucking lazy and cheap, and I've like I know that our stuff's gonna sell out either way, so I don't necessarily have like the motivation to give shirts to every single person, but I should. It's such a good opportunity. That's actually a part of why I started the podcast, was because I thought like I'm never gonna be able to network with people and like introduce people to OSS, my non-podcast brand, unless I start creating content in which I could sort of get people involved.
Yeah, totally.
I sort of realized that from the beginning, when I kind of lost sight of it because I'm sort of busy.
Another piece of advice to like anyone designing anything is like sit with it for a while. Like sometimes like this is the design, this is how we're going to print it, this is what it's going to look like. But also like for each season of Robesman, this is going to sound really dumb, but it takes me like 4 to 5 months just to like make sure I'm totally happy with it.
Really?
So I just like move shit around. I think about it in my head. I sketch shit. I always am like thinking, designing, recreating, like being inspired by different brands and what different things are going on in fashion or whatever. And I just try to like always get everything right. And I have like one kid. There's only one other kid, my friend Matthew Midnight, in New York, that I send my shit to before it goes out, just to get his feedback, and we bounce ideas off each other. But he's been really like, he's been down from day one since I told him this. Because it's funny, a lot of my friends who knew me before I was doing this shit, like, are kind of like, they roll their eyes at it. They think it's stupid. They don't get it, or they don't want to be a part of it. Like, a lot of people just don't want to help.
Right. Because they can't think of it as a serious thing, and they can't think of it as something that's going to go beyond just you.
Yeah, and also, like, if an artist plays me a song and I'm in the room with an artist, I'm not going to be like, yo, that shit sucks.
Right.
You know, but like your friends will be like, yo, that sucks. And
right.
It's like, well, fuck, I spent a lot of time on that. Okay, I get you're not going to be down with it, but did you still want to help promote it or help me fix it or whatever? But like a lot of times it just ends with that criticism, and then that's it.
Did you naturally have like an aptitude for business, or did you know how to structure a business early on when you got into this? Is that important to a young person starting a brand?
I mean, I'm pretty math minded.
Okay.
So I can like, I was at the company that I was at before. I was doing all the invoicing, all like the bookkeeping, all the receiving, all that shit. So I know how to keep track of all that shit. I know, like, we've gone through the process of setting up LLCs and all that different stuff. But I don't even like, the worrying about setting up the business should come after you have a business.
Right.
Like, you got to be worrying about like moving some product. Building, like, getting more eyes on your product, basically, no matter what it is. You know, if you want to get it into, like, people still go on Karma Loop.
Yeah, probably somebody. I mean, I think there's still a site up.
Yeah, there's got to be stuff like that where they aggregate, you know, smaller brands, and that's kind of something that I've always thought about doing, is like becoming an advocate for a lot of these smaller brands. Like, there's a bunch of packages sitting right behind you, people sending stuff in for streetwear reviews.
Right.
I love helping those guys.
Right.
Because I was one of those guys. I still am one of those guys.
Uh-huh.
And even if your shit sucks, it doesn't mean that like your next shit's gonna suck. Like, it's pretty, like, if you make a shitty song, it's kind of hard to, like, and you're like just a bad singer, it's kind of hard to go and make another one
right.
that's gonna be good or whatever. But if you start printing some like weird shit, but then you kind of find your like niche or whatever,
yeah,
it's just really about the hustle and the grind.
Well, the good thing about being really, really small, too, is that you don't have that many eyeballs on you, so you can totally fuck it up and blow it mad times and make some whack shit, and people aren't really going to remember or know.
Yeah, I mean, Zach from FTP is like such an inspiring story because like no one fucked with him. Not in a sense, but he just wasn't like, he tweets about it himself too. Like, he wasn't paid attention to, he wasn't taken seriously, but his network blew him up.
Right.
Like, he's like really out there.
And his network was pretty small at first too. Like, it was just him and a relatively small group of friends, you know?
Yeah. And
he's not exactly Mr. fucking pop. He's not going out there and networking like crazy.
He's another guy who keeps his face
he's
hidden.
Quiet.
He lets his brand speak for itself, which is really hard to do. So he came up even in a harder way, but he does have real life relationships that help his brand so much, you know? And that's really important to have.
He has a lot of street level people who fuck with him, like people who are sort of like in the street world, gangster type dudes and stuff, who actually really fuck with his brand. That helps a lot.
Yeah, and his brand is very simple if you think about it. But that's the thing, is like a lot of these things are fairly simple. Like, why does an Alexander Wang T-shirt cost that much money? Because I don't know, that's what people value it at.
21 Savage is really simple too, and he's like one of the most popular rappers. Like, most of the most popular rappers, I think, find a way to be simple and a way to be comprehensible.
Yeah, I've always loved like simplicity and symmetry and stuff in designs. I know the shirt I'm wearing is pretty loud right now, but the last thing I put out was very kind of toned down and like it did the best out of everything. And yeah, it's just kind of cool to see, again, like Zach come up like that, you know?
Right.
All of his shit.
What do the people need to know about your personal life? Like, who you are behind the scenes? What kind of guy are you? How are you with girls? I always think it's funny because, like, I'm like the super savage one with girls, and you're a bit more tame in comparison.
Yeah, I know. But like when people really talk about that, like, oh, who's a virgin or whatever.
No, that's not true.
No, but I like to play it up when I'm sitting in
Right.
that chair because I think it's funny to have like the dichotomy between me and you.
Right.
And like just like, oh, Adam's out there and like Robesman never goes out or whatever. But like you'll see me out and I'll be like talking to girls. Like I have it's funny because I was like 5th through 8th grade was like my pimping years.
Okay.
Like multiple girlfriends, like doing
and that's
great.
when you said you like went in the crazy dry spell after that, right?
High school, like two girls for like 2 weeks, like girlfriends or whatever.
It's so hard for me to believe that you could go from killing it being young. Usually guys get better with age.
I went to a 23-person grade school.
Oh.
So when I got into high school, there was 300 people in my high school.
Oh, so you had like the Chinese village effect going on where there weren't that many other people, so they sort of had to mess with you.
No one messed with me, but I was just 5'3". I was a little guy.
Mess with you sexually, I mean.
Oh yeah, no. There was girls that liked me. Looking back in high school, I was like, damn, that girl was hot and she liked me. I just didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
Right.
I had no big brother type like role model to be like, yo, you got to talk to the girl like this or that or whatever.
Right.
I was just kind of quiet. I was like still a little bit funny.
I think everybody probably at some point in your life as a guy, you're going to look back in your life and you're just going to wish that you fucked more. You're going to wish that you had
Nah,
taken
man.
more
I
shots.
actually kind of value in high school not really like having it like that because I think that a lot of that nerd rage and stuff really drives people. Like I feel like Mark
Yeah.
Zuckerberg never got laid in high school. Bill Gates never got laid in high school. I mean, were you banging all through high school?
I had female attention, but my situation was really weird because I had a girlfriend for fucking 2 years straight who we were doing everything besides fucking. She wouldn't let me smash. But
It's important.
I always had a pretty decent amount of attention from girls, but I also, as a kid, I remember really like not being happy with the level of the girls that were into me. Like I really wanted like the hottest chicks.
Yo,
you know,
yo,
like,
I was kind of like I felt like kind of a dick too because I'm not a fucking 10, you know.
Right,
I'm just like
same, yeah,
I'm just
same.
a skinny white guy, whatever, with
I'm
a
not even
beard.
skinny, yeah.
I look like the Grinch. I look like a Who from Whoville.
they say all these things.
They
Thank you,
love
Rope
that.
Gang. Yeah.
But I always had that kind of inner confidence because it's a result of like having parents who are like really like good or whatever. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe too much.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe I'm like self-esteem generation, so like I maybe I'm too confident.
Right.
But you get really knocked down once you get into the real world.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you realize pretty quick. Oh shit! I actually have to do some work. Actually, I'm not that good. There's a lot to be learned.
Like that first day at college.
yeah.
When you like you just, I don't know, like for me, I went to college and just like it's sort of a weird feeling when you're starting all over. You don't have your friends from high school that you've always known.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
First day at college for me, honestly, I felt like I was like, holy shit, I have so much freedom. This is crazy,
Right.
you know, like, and then you just get like blacked out. But yeah, not having girls in high school, I'm fine with that. Because in college, like, then there was just like there was girls.
Yeah.
And then like I was like kind of being too much of a thought in college, and I was like, I gotta get serious. And I looked at my friend, and I was like, we gotta get girlfriends.
And then you did.
And then I did. I got a girlfriend, and like we dated for a couple years, but I really felt her like growing super close, and I was like, I'm not ready to get married. I'm like 24, so we broke up, and it was hard, man. It's hard breaking up with somebody that you still like love,
Mm-hmm.
that you still don't want to hurt, but
Yeah.
it's like staying with somebody to not hurt them. is a
Many
weird-
times in my life, I've had to break a real nice girl's heart by saying something else, but actually, it was like I got to keep fucking. You know, I'm not done with this game. You know, like it's just reality.
Yeah, if you look, yeah. That's the thing too. With you talking about hot girls, like in high school, like we looked at our girlfriend group or whatever, and like they were cool as hell. And like looking back, I was probably a dickhead too because I thought I was like cool or whatever. And I was like, we should be chilling with these girls over here, you know?
Right.
And then like we did chill with those girls over there, but those girls didn't fuck with us, you know?
Right.
So like if any girl fucks with me at all, I'm like deeply honored. Still to
Do
this
you
day, I'm
always
like,
act
wow.
that way?
No, you can't act that way.
You're much better at maintaining like platonic female friendships than me. Like I notice all the time that you sort of just because like for me, I feel like I'm so busy that I have no time to waste having casual conversations with people about almost anything, including my friends, my male friends that are my good friends with. I don't conversationally really text them outside of the group chat thing.
Yeah.
And that's something I probably should work on. Like I have platonic female friends, but I never talk to them unless we have like some sort of thing that we're doing together. Or anything
Twitter
like that.
helps so much when I follow like all these girls who
Right.
tweet and like they're my homegirls and like I see them out and stuff like that because it is I don't have a lot of text conversations with any girls really.
Right.
but we talk on Twitter. I comment on their Snap story. They comment on my Snap story. We kind of keep in touch, and then we link up at whatever function. And like, I don't care. Like, if there's a hot girl who's cool, like that's a win-win-win. I don't care if she likes me or not because she's gonna have hot friends who are cool.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's like, yeah, it is kind of hard to maintain a platonic female friendship with the girl who's hot that you kind of maybe want to hook up with.
Right.
But if you're able to control yourself and not be a savage, and get drunk and like come out of your face and spill your feelings to her.
I can't really relate to what you're saying because I feel like hot girls really want to fuck me or really don't want to know me. I feel like I have very little like friend zoning in the middle.
That's interesting. I would actually agree with that about you because, yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, either they're like, oh, wow, I fucking hate Adam, like whatever. Or like, yeah, I'm super down. But like, I don't know. Like just having like girl perspective too is good in your life. If you get too bogged down by like your dudes or whatever.
You do. You need that.
But then again, like also too many girls around like each other to get themselves all riled up on shit. And you'll see like that's what was always a problem with like some of my ex-girlfriends was like they came back from talking with all their girls and they were like, I'm so like mad at you because of this and this. I'm like, who were you talking to? What the fuck was Becky saying?
Sewing circle starts building this shit up, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, I mean like in terms of girls right now, I don't know. I'm unemployed, so we're not going on any dates. Sorry. But yeah, I'm just open to kind of whatever like comes my way, and like if I see a girl I'm interested in, I'll like make a play and see if she wants to link up or do whatever.
Do you think you're relationship ready at this point in your life?
I don't know. It's a really good question because
it ain't easy.
It really isn't easy, especially not. And it gets harder and harder. For some reason, as technology gets better and better.
Oh, yeah. Like Tinder makes, God.
I don't fuck with Tinder. I deleted Tinder. I deleted Hinge.
But you have Raya.
Yeah, I got Raya, and it's like a menu of hot girls that are like cool and like will talk to you and stuff, But it's like, again, you talk about time.
I gotta get on there.
Time management is the craziest thing when you're 32.
Yeah, and I just don't feel like I have any fucking time to give to like chasing down girls. So I end up just sort of going with like the girls that slide up on me, that follow me, that hit me up, or if I just randomly meet them through a friend or anything like that. But then that sort of makes me feel weird because it's like, what do I have all these fucking followers and clout for if I'm not going to be like taking shots at girls that I actually like see from afar and I'm actually interested in, but I never do that anymore.
Yeah. When was the last time you really pursued a girl hard?
I don't know. Forever ago.
Mine was my ex-girlfriend, man. I had a fucking like game plan to get this girl. I was like plotting and scheming and like doing certain moves, and I really in my mind, I think I had just read like The Pickup Artist, and I was like, oh shit, like I got to try some of this shit out, like, and that shit, it's 98% corny, and it like don't do a lot of that shit. Like, do not like
do magic tricks.
Don't neg girls like with lines that you memorize. Don't do magic tricks. Don't peacock. But do have confidence in yourself, and don't like fold to whatever a hot girl says. It's really easy to see a hot girl walk in the room and be like, "What do you want? What do you need? I'll go get it for you."
Right.
But like if you give them a little sass or treat them like just like they're one of the homies, all of a sudden you're like you equalize the levels that everybody's on.
Yeah, you can't be running around acting all thirsty, acting like
you can't be spineless.
You're desperate for what they have.
They say nice guys finish last. It's like the spineless guys who finish last.
Right.
The guys who deep down they want to get this girl so bad, but they hide it and they act like they're just friends and all that shit, and those guys never prosper.
I can't relate to what that must be like to be some fucking weirdo like that. I don't know.
You never had a girl like fuck you up like that, like where like you were all sprung and maybe when you were younger.
Fuck me up like I was all sprung for her and then she just said no?
No, like fuck you up like you found yourself maybe changing parts of who you were to fit her.
I don't know if I've ever changed. Yeah, I guess that girl I dated all through high school, like I was just kind of being a pussy and just like, it meant so much to me that she liked me that I like fought for the relationship to make it happen in the first place. But always the strain of truth was that she didn't like me as much as I liked her. But I was such a fucking salesman that I worked my way into it. But then that was what's weird too is she fully broke it off with me at like as high school ended, and then a few months later, she's hit me up and like we hang out. She's still a virgin. I'm not. I take her virginity. She decides she wants to date me. I was like, nah. And then that was the end of that for a while. Like, So it was weird because I still ended up kind of she ended up going and doing a crazy ass thing for a while. Decided she wanted me back. I smashed. Then I was just like, no, and that was just like it kind of set the scene for a lot of my future dealings.
that power dynamic, man, that shit gets so stressful, and especially like if you're watching this and you're like under the age of 20, I'd say 25, like just know that it gets better. It gets better because when girls are 18 and 19, they have all the power. You're 19 and you're a guy and you're not like a famous rapper. You got nothing going for you. You're broke and you're getting stunted on by guys like Adam and maybe even sometimes me. Sorry. But like those girls are like looking for like older guys who are established with whatever going on.
Are they? Yeah, I guess you're right.
I mean, yeah, just if you think about it, like when you don't have much to offer as like a 19-year-old.
Right.
You know, but then as you get older, A, you have more to offer, more experience, and B, you chill out. You're not like, who was your ex-boyfriend? What's his fucking name?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't have any jealousy left in me, but I was like totally like that when I was younger. It's weird to think about now.
You're like looking at the Instagram too much. You're like, fuck, who the fuck is this guy she tagged?
Looking at LiveJournal too much or whatever it was at the time. Yeah, but I mean, it's crazy for me now because I could never imagine ever being jealous or like nosy about anything with a girl ever because it just don't like I just couldn't put my energy into that.
Nah, you told me that you had it. You had it like 3 years ago.
3 years ago?
There was a girl who fucked you up. I don't want to get into specifics, but yeah, it can
was
still
like
happen.
5 years ago.
But it can. I'm just saying it can still happen. And the problem is that because you realize, oh shit, this can still happen. Maybe you like dull yourself down even more, so you're not really even like connecting with human beings, which is probably bad.
Totally. I'm dead inside. Like I'll like separate myself from it because I don't want to get involved to that level.
Yeah, and the problem with like a lot of the girls that maybe you attract with your kind of scumbag brand is like the girls already have a lot of different issues and stuff like that, and they're just looking for something where it's like they know it's not going to get too close, so they're already down to have like this super kind of detached interaction, and it just gets fucking weird, you know? Ultimately, real relationships is where you learn about yourself.
I know.
So sitting here talking to you, having this real conversation, I'm learning about me, and you're learning about yourself, and that's a good thing. It's easier to. I mean, guy friendships are pretty easy, as you know. Like you can link with a new guy, and in like 2 hours, if you guys have one common interest, you'll be talking about it for whatever.
Right.
Girls, like they kind of have to know the same people. It's a little bit trickier for girls to like find friendships and shit like that, I think.
It's weird for me because I feel like at this point my like conversational skills are good enough that I feel like extremely confident that if I meet a girl at random that I'm going to be able to most likely be able to like make her attracted to me or like me. And that for some reason that confidence that I have now makes me just not even really give a fuck about going out of my way to meet girls at all anyway, like at all.
Yeah.
And which I don't know. Like when I go to shows, parties and stuff where who I am matters, almost always have a girl with me so I don't have to talk to anybody else or at least don't have to talk to girls. And when I think about that, it's kind of weird that I would rather bring a girl that I presumably don't like around as like a safety net or as like a force field against having to like interact with other girls in that situation, which I don't know why, but that's just sort of.
Yeah, you make a good point about just basically having a good rap. Like for the past 7 years, I've been on the phone for like 6 hours a day every day.
Right, exactly. If
And
you
it
could
just-
talk, if you have a narrative and you can get her to buy into it, I mean, that is what it is to like win somebody over, I feel
Yeah,
like.
think about this. Like this is what a record label guy will have to do. He'll have to call a guy, you know, in like Iowa and convince him over the phone to like listen to what he has to say. It's sales, you know.
Yeah, totally.
What he has to say, like, and help him like kind of go like figure out how can I get this guy to do what I want him to do over the phone with my words.
Right. Well, it's kind of weird too because I put everything in my life pretty much out there, so it's like anybody who's relatively familiar with No Jumper probably knows about a huge percentage of like what I have going on in terms of girls and stuff, and I don't really make any attempt to like sugarcoat it or act like I'm like the super nice guy. Not that I'm not nice, but you know,
You're clearly not looking for a relationship. So
I kind of am, but just also doing a really good job trying to avoid it.
yeah. You're delaying a relationship as long as possible.
Yeah, it's just so fun being single. And the thing is that to me, it's like if I was at a certain level, money wise, then being in a relationship, I think would seem a lot more feasible because to me, I don't have a couple hours a day to give somebody else because I'm so concerned with building what I know I'm capable of right now. And what I feel like I'm capable of right now is pretty much exactly what I've been working towards since I was a teenager.
I just had a genius idea, though.
What, rapgenius.com? That already exists.
Adam LZ is making racks. He's getting
Stupid
married.
racks.
You don't. If you found a really hot girl who was down to be in all the vids and be in the thumbnails, I'm saying you could basically vlog with your bae
Right.
a couple times a week, and that counts as hanging out if she was cool with it. Any girl that you basically date is gonna have to be cool with the cameras around and having her life put out there too.
Yeah, I feel like the average girl in 2016 would probably be cool with that.
Not always, man. It's weird. It's like I got some friends that's just like they're just like, yo, don't put me on Snapchat or whatever. You know?
I don't think I could ever date somebody who's like that. I don't see. That's the weird thing about it is like the last serious girlfriend that I had, total civilian, not Instagram famous at all in any way. It's just like a regular girl with a really good job or whatever. And that was like me really giving it a go of trying to be in a real like stable relationship with a girl who was very stable. And that's always a question in my mind is, am I going to date some crazy ass chick who's sort of personality wise similar to me? Or am I going to date like a really nice girl who's going to like hold me down?
I think the problem is like you got to also anyone out there like who's having bad relationships and has been in kind of that repeated pattern. You got to look at who you're attracted to and realize that might not be a good thing.
Yeah.
You can't really control who you're attracted to. That's just kind of whatever types you were attracted to is what you like.
Right.
So if those keep turning into like she cheats on me or I cheat on her or I blow it up or she treats me like shit or whatever it is, when you start to get a strong attraction to somebody, you got to be like, hold up.
Yeah.
Why am I attracted to this person? Maybe you got to find someone who I'm a little bit less attracted to in the beginning.
Right.
And then kind of work backwards from there, which is hard for guys because we're so visual.
Relationship is all about compromise. And I don't feel like I have any interest in compromising at all about anything.
Yeah, but I'm just like I'm always curious. People always talk about like I have no time.
Yeah.
I have no
it's a
compromise.
front. Yeah.
But then like if you would tell a girl like, Brad Pitt wants to date you, can you find a couple hours?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's
Right,
probably
you
a
can always
girl
make
like
time,
yeah.
yeah.
I don't know who your number one celebrity crush is.
I don't know. I don't know any celebrities. I only know Instagram girls.
I'm not a big celebrity guy.
I just don't know any like traditionally famous people outside of like hip hop community.
There could be a girl out there. There probably is a girl out there that'll get you sprung to the point where you're like trying to make an effort for it.
This is my thing is that I feel like I'm at a point in my life where I'm rising dramatically and quickly, and it's like I feel like if I get into a relationship now, like that girl that I started dating, like it seemed a lot more reasonable at the time because this was like almost a year ago where the podcast was still like basically nothing.
Yeah.
And I wasn't having like all these girls hit me up and shit. And then like through the time dating her was like it was blowing up, and then by the end of it was just like we were on completely different pages because I was getting this like, sort of bizarre level of like female attention that I wasn't getting previously.
But like how many offers for sex do you think like Wiz Khalifa gets, And he's able to date. I mean, I don't know if he stays faithful, but I'm just saying there's guys
he's a scumbag. He
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah, but there's guys. I'm just saying there are faithful guys who are way more popping than you.
Totally. But that's like you have to make decision.
You're in it right now.
Exactly. You have to find that situation that you want to be like that with. And I'm just not trying to while I was dating her, I met this really beautiful girl that I had a huge crush on her for years, and that girl was like clearly down. And I basically like broke up with the girl I was seeing because of this situation. And I'm just like, at this point in my life, like, am I really going to turn down hooking up with some girl that I've been fucking jerking off to for years just because of the fucking fact that I'm trying to pretend to be serious about this girlfriend thing? It just like really put it in perspective of like, am I really going to miss out on life experiences that I want to have because I want to be a good boyfriend? I want to fit into this idea of what it is to be a good boyfriend. I don't think I wouldn't do that in any other angle of my life, any other aspect.
Well, I guess this is a bad question, but you don't go to movies by yourself. You don't go to movies at all. But like,
no.
Are you comfortable enough to go to like functions by yourself, or do you always want to have a girl with you?
I need either my squad or a girl with me. I think I'm not really trying to like go out and like just hang out by myself.
Yeah, no, me neither. And that's what the life is best, experience like shared with other humans. I really feel,
Right.
and it's like really good when you have like it's nice. Having a girl is nice. There are some real nice parts of it where it's like,
I don't know if I've ever if I experienced those so much.
yeah, I don't know. You can have some like really dope ass nights where it's like, it's Friday night, we're going to like some really fun thing. We're both gonna get fucked up, have fun. Then Saturday we're gonna be hungover all day, like all snuggled up, you know, chilling, watching Netflix.
I just don't think I have that like desire to like have like a permanent like partner all the time. Like I'm such a loner, and I love being alone, and I just like.
Yeah, that's the weird
No.
part about me too, is that like, after like, okay, here's a weird thing that happened. Like with my first girlfriend, like we went to her parents' house in Minnesota, and we were like eating dinner, and we finished dinner. When I finished dinner, I get up.
Right.
But they sat around the table for like 30 minutes, and I was like freaking out because like I have the energy or whatever. I don't have that like sit around and chill vibe, especially not like in those situations. I really had to like learn that thing, and I also had like very much like I need my own time by myself. So really, like the only way I see myself ever living with a girl is a lot of square footage, probably two
Yeah.
bathrooms. I don't want to be dumping in her bathroom,
All right.
or vice versa. Like I want to have my own little place where I can just go and unwind by myself.
Yeah.
You know, be with my own thoughts for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I am always way more energized around people. So then when I want to get up and get out, like that's when my like energy levels start going. Like being around people like gets me all hyped up to do more shit.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
weird
know.
because I really like being around all my like young BMX homies because they sort of like give me like energy. But then I don't know that whole like thing about like just like I don't know. A lot of people don't like to sleep alone every night. It doesn't bother.
I can't sleep with somebody else touching me.
Oh really?
So like if like I mean
I can, but
if I'm drunk enough or whatever, like we can cuddle and I'll fall asleep cuddling. But man, it's really hard for me. I just get uncomfortable. I'll wake up like 7 different times because I snore. So I'll be considerate to the girl and try to sleep in my stomach, which I don't normally do, which means I'm like, I'm weird, dude.
Fart in my sleep a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't want to, like, when do we get to that level? When can I fart in front of you? Is it
Yeah.
right away?
I hooked up with a girl and she in the morning. It was like 8 o'clock in the morning. I was sleeping. I fart in my sleep, and the fart almost like wakes me up a little bit. But then she just like turns to me and is just like, "Adam, never do that again." And I was like, "I'm never talking to you again. There's no way. I never talk to her again."
You should have Dutch ovened her.
Oh God, that's just. I was so sickened by the idea of like her telling me what to do in my own house. Like, don't fart in front of me. I was just like, oh my God, like I can't believe that you think that you have any room to fucking tell me that.
How dare you?
How dare you? What the fuck is wrong with you? I'll fart everywhere. I'm a human being. Like, so she wants me to keep hanging out with her. She wants this to be an ongoing thing. She texted me a million times after we fucked, like wanting to hang out.
Just because of the fart, you never chill with her?
Well, I just had no desire to talk to her anyway. She was a fucking cunt.
She wasn't that hot.
Yeah, she was pretty hot, but she was just a bitch. But anyway, that really underscored it. It's like, so you want to keep hanging out with me, and you're gonna tell me not to like fart in my sleep? You fucking retard.
The craziest thing, it's about like when you're younger too, and you're like, if you hook up with a girl like at her place, the second you're done, you're like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. You start freaking out, you get anxiety or whatever, and it's like so bad. It's so
Yeah.
bad because if you.
But you
like,
think that's like a younger guy thing?
that's a younger guy thing.
I still do that.
I know. Sometimes you still want to do that, but it's easier as an older guy to be like, "Fuck it." Like, I realize I can't be a dick about this. It's really kind of shady to bounce on a girl right after you hook up, unless she's like, "Get out of here."
Well, now it's
or if
kinda
she
like,
bounces on you.
It's
that's
like I don't
fine.
want to just fuck you. I also want to kind of like dominate your home for a little while. Like I want to sit on the couch and watch TV and roll weed and just be myself to such an extent that you're gonna be like you're annoying. Like you're taking over my house right now, and I'll be like, well, this is me, and like, you know, if you don't like it, then this is like a perfectly good reason for us to never see each other again.
I want to dominate your house. I've never heard that.
Yeah, because I like hotels. Like, I really love being in a hotel where I can just do whatever the fuck I want, and somebody else is gonna clean it up. So I really like being in some random girl's house too, because I could just
That's a hotel for you?
Yeah, it's like a hotel.
Nah, man. Like, girls' houses are always so like different and weird. You know, they always have like different like little thoughts and stuff put into things, and it's always kind of like
Yeah, it's gross to me.
they don't ever have like a good rig. what I'm saying is like a big ass flat screen and a dope ass couch. Like girls will have like this cute couch that went with the aesthetic and like the small flat screen because like I don't know their dad.
But it's weird for me, like being in some girl's house. I'm really excited to sit back, roll a blunt, watch Netflix. But like I have a TV in my room for like a year and a half now that I've never turned on because that just doesn't seem like something I want to do in my own house.
Yeah, I hate that shit where it's like you will have that one project. That's another piece of advice. You know, I know we're pontificating a lot here, but it's like when you see a problem, fix it right away. Otherwise, you're gonna have a TV in your room that hasn't been turned on in a year and a half.
Yeah.
Or otherwise,
weird.
like every time you walk past that one screw that came unscrewed in the wall, it's just a screw sitting out there reminding you that like you're a loser. It's like screw it in. Like just get it done.
Or
Get your
I've had
shit
like
done.
an overdue like dentist bill for like a year that I still haven't paid.
Yeah, but it's funny because you obviously get shit done. You have a lot of stuff coming out all
I
the
wake
time.
up every day so excited to do something that I'm like passionate about or excited about, which that all the little things are like almost impossible for me to get myself to do.
Yeah.
Like figuring out how to turn the TV on.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm really a guy who loves having a routine.
Right.
Even on vacations, I'll get a routine.
I'm terrified of a routine.
I love a routine. Like third day of the vacation, I know that I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna like pop to this banging breakfast spot here. I'm gonna check out the waves at this spot here. I'm gonna lay out for a little bit here, you know. And I know that's how I'm gonna start my day. And now that I don't have one, I'm kind of a little bit spinning, but I'm gonna get back into it and get it. And I think like to-do lists and routines and stuff can really help my mind get focused so that I can get a bunch of shit done efficiently, you know.
My whole thought process when I wake up is like I'm gonna get everything done. I'm gonna blaze through my email and delete everything I don't feel like responding to, and respond to the stuff that's important. And then once I do that, then I can go get a cup of coffee, eat a little something, get on Twitter, and that's when my brain starts working. And I'm like,
oh, so you do have a routine. You get emails done first.
I just do everything. But here's the thing: is like we've been talking about doing the No Jumper News thing, and it'll be like, oh, we're gonna meet up every day at noon or whatever, and that gives me some anxiety. Just the idea of like, oh, like, am I going to start this and all of a sudden it's going to be Monday through Friday, 5 hours a day that I'm going to be actually like in an office working, and maybe that'll help me get where I'm going. But I'm also just kind of scared of like, is that going to give me this like framework that I feel like limits me? But I should. Like, what am I scared of? Like, I know what I want to accomplish.
I say that we start it together, and then we find somebody to like free you up. You know,
Right.
in a sense, like
Well, already with getting people to edit the stuff is going to free up a bunch of time and stuff. But yeah, because in time it would be like, because the way I see it working is it's going to be like me, you, house phone, or me, you, some other one of the people that we interviewed or whatever, and then we're going to just do all these topics and everything. But then it could very easily also transition into you, house phone, and some other kid,
Right.
or some other kid, you, and some other kid, and like, you know, as long as we like build up people through No Jumper that people like, then we won't have a problem with, you know, being able to create content outside of us. But I mean, that to me is the hardest part. Is like I even look at a lot of the hosts on like different online things, and I'm just like, this guy is not, you know, just that's the hardest thing, is to find somebody who's like funny and comfortable on camera.
yeah, and that's another thing I want to address too. Is that like when I started No Jumper, like there's a lot of hate because I think the kids in general didn't like no newcomers, no new friends or whatever.
Right.
And also, I didn't know much about shit back then
Different
in terms
perspective, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know what people were looking for. I didn't know much about the guests that were coming on. I was doing a full-time job all day, you know, so I didn't have tons of time to like prepare for the guests. Also, like I was trying to figure out my role, and like I realized, you know, I'm not the host of the show, you know, so
Right.
I'd come in and like say some shit or whatever, and like kids were like, "Oh, who the fuck is this guy?" But like now it's like we got more of a dynamic. I realize like I'm the sidekick guy that can fill in some color commentary here and there. And honestly, I do want to give you huge props because it really is hard to do an interview with somebody who doesn't want to say shit. Or with
Yeah.
like, let's be honest, there have been a bunch of guests on every show, if you really think about it, that you don't give a fuck what they do or what their music sound like or like whatever. You're not really into them, but out of respect and because you want to have a good show and a good product, you do your research, you get good questions. You can always keep the conversation flowing. You know, you like you said, you honed your conversational skills, and it's a really, really hard skill. It looks easy as hell when you're sitting there, you know, watching on YouTube, like how, you know, what the fuck, man? Why didn't you ask this or that?
Right, yeah.
It's like, well, you kind of got to let the guests talk too.
And you also got to think that I do so many of these that a lot of times I'm raw dogging it and I don't have a single question written down, and that makes it challenging in its own way too. Because
Yeah, you don't have a team of producers
Yeah.
giving you all this shit. Like,
and we don't edit them. There's no editing almost ever. You know, like once in a while we'll chop out something, but
And think about how hard
editing's for content, not for like, oh, there's a 5-second gap here that feels awkward as fuck because, you know.
if somebody's gonna go on to Jimmy Fallon, producers call him and they go, "Hey, so let's talk about what do you want to talk about with Jimmy? You know, what kind of funny stories you got?"
Right.
The person will tell him a story. They'll be like, "What else you got? What else you got?
Yeah.
What else you got?" They'll get like 20 stories out of you so that Jimmy will have like the most genius 2-minute
Right.
clip. You know, and even those fall flat a lot of the time. So doing a long form, non-edited interview with people a lot of times who just want to maintain a badass image is really, really hard.
But it's like I wish that young rappers or whatever understood that the content that they put into their No Jumper interview, it might as well be like the content that you're putting into your album or your song or whatever. Like if you go on the show and you aren't interesting and you refuse to talk about everything, it's like, dude, like what are you hoping to accomplish with this interview? Like if I were when I go to get interviewed, when Tax Stone interviewed me, which hopefully comes out soon, I'm sitting there thinking like I'm saying shit that I never thought I would say on the fucking air before because I realize that the crazier the shit I say is, then the better it is. Like I'm not gonna fucking hold back anything. I will say the shit that's gonna incriminate me, get my girlfriend to break up with me, etc. because that's just as important as the content of your song. But a lot of these rappers too, their content of their songs is fucking trash too because they're not talking about their real life experiences. They're just sort of blabbering about nothing.
Yeah,
Bunch of cliches in a row.
It's not like what I'm saying is it's not an easy job. It's a job that I'm still like learning how to get good at, but it's a really fun one. It's really fun because I learned more. Also, again, it felt like a really eye-opening year where I learned tons just sitting in that chair talking to different people, seeing what people can do, what everyone's out there doing, and like, you know, who I actually want to work with and connect with. Because you can really you can sit back and look at someone's Instagram and Twitter all you want, but until you sit down and have an hour-long conversation, we're going to really know that person.
That's how I feel. Even after that, a lot of times, like I'll do an hour-long interview with somebody and I'll kind of like forget like where they're from or like some pretty basic information about them because. But this is like the most dedicated, like intensive conversation that you ever have with anybody. You're just literally sitting there and trying to get the most interesting stuff you can out of them. It's very, I don't know, it's very intense.
Yeah, man.
I certainly appreciate it.
Where are we at right now?
We are at about 120, 123.
I feel good with this.
Yeah. What are the other topics that we should cover?
I mean, I just want to say that like anybody trying to make it out there in music, that like you don't need to really don't think about labels right away. Don't think about cosigns right away. Don't think about like managers. Don't think about like
Think about the art.
Yeah, think about the fucking song.
Right.
If that song is fire, it doesn't matter if you listen to it or not. If Adam listens to your song, it's not going to change your life. If your song's fire, Adam will hear the song because it'll be built up by the kids who actually do listen. The kids, there's a lot of thirsty kids out there who want to be tastemakers, want to be first. And if someone puts their stamp of approval on your song, it's gonna go.
Right.
And you're not gonna get your stamp of approval by like spamming your song in people's comments for a year.
Yeah.
You put the song out, you send it to a certain number of people, and if it goes, it goes. If it doesn't, put another one out.
Right.
But they're so concerned about all this different shit that things gonna make them go to the next level. Even if you get signed by a major label, there is no guarantee that label's gonna do anything to help you. You know.
I don't even think like most of the underground rapper kids even like know about labels anymore. It just seems so hypothetical.
I love that 21 Savage literally made a song called No Advance.
Yeah.
Cause he probably could have got a fucking big ass advance.
Right.
But he would be fully owned by a major.
Right.
But he's making all his own money on his own label with his own shit and like gonna control all of his own art and decide where it goes and where it doesn't go and like decide his own release schedule and stuff like that. It's a lot of fucking work. Being an independent label is a lot of work, but if you got the team around you, just, you know, the people who are dedicated to you and you're running it, it's so much more rewarding. And you can build it up like so much crazier, you know. If you are a pop artist, you need radio to go.
Yeah.
So start looking at majors and start also building how everyone else builds online. But man, I don't know, like I really love talking to artists and young artists and helping people create and see their vision and stuff like that. And I really did want to see what it was like to put out a body of work myself, and it was scary as hell.
Right.
It was like the scariest thing I ever did was like put out my own like brand.
Right.
I was like, oh, what if they hate me? What if they don't like me or whatever, you know? And I tried anything in the beginning, man. I was a scammer. Like I'm gonna say it on No Jumper, but like I took $5 and bought like 5,000 followers on Twitter because I just thought Bieber did it. I was like, this motherfucker was juicing his plays from the very beginning.
You
and
still got them or what?
they're all gone.
Why? What happened?
Those don't last. Like Twitter clears out the bots.
Right.
So I'm like at 12,000 now with like 98% real.
Oh, okay, nice.
But it's like fake followers is the dumbest shit ever. It's only gonna make you look stupid.
Yeah.
You know. But as a kid who saw like music industry guys doing it,
Right.
I was like, fuck it, I'll give it a try. I didn't give a shit. I was like, whatever's gonna give me an edge on everybody else. You know.
Right.
It might have actually helped for
Image purposes, right?
a couple months.
Yeah.
You know, if you reach out to somebody and they're not doing like heavy research on you, and you don't only have like 5,000, it's better than reaching out with like 7.
Well, that's how kids feel because, I mean, if you have 200 followers, then nobody's going to ever take you seriously, right? Besides other losers, you know, like.
But I will. If you're a brand with 200 followers, I realize that like a lot of brands started with small ass shit. So if you actually have product, I'll fuck with you. I'll check it out, you know. But hitting me with a SoundCloud link again, like unless it says Robesman in the song, I'm probably not going to listen. It's like you got to trust you have your trusted sources. Like any underground rapper out there or artist coming up, like think about how do you hear music?
Right.
From your friends.
Yeah.
Your friends are like, yo, this is hot. They're playing in the car or whatever. Then all of a sudden you know about it.
It's a weird position for me to be in because I just feel like time-wise I'm so strapped that I won't, you know, I don't interact with my DMs or people trying to get in contact with me ever at all. Besides, if somebody says something really flattering, I'll like do the praying hands thing or send them a heart or something.
Yeah.
But it's weird to be in that position because I realize it's kind of shitty the fact that I like, you know, all these kids are hitting me up about their clothing lines and I don't even respond.
But again, it's not really your responsibility.
Yeah.
You let them have a voice. Like every month or so, a streetwear review is done. All these packages are sitting here right now that will be open and will be talked about on air. So if they want you to look at their shit, they can send it in. They have.
Right.
You know?
I didn't really ask for people to be hitting me up about that.
What do you mean?
I just
For
mean like
streetwear?
all the people that like want, like I make it very clear. There's an address. You send your shit in. We might talk about it. That's it. I'm not responding to any messages about it. There's only one thing that you could do is just send it in.
Yeah. I mean, and then like if once we open the No Jumper store, then all right, you send it in. The hottest shit that gets sent in gets carried in the store.
Hey, theoretically.
You know, whatever.
Yeah.
Like there could be shit that happens, and then we start No Jumper Records. You know, the hottest SoundCloud link we get. No, I was just kidding. But like, it is. It's people are looking for an edge or an advantage or trying to promote themselves however possible because there's so much noise and shit out there right now.
Right.
So really focus on knowing yourself and knowing who you are before you go and throw yourself out into the world.
It's true. Shit. Well, hey, this has been the Robesman interview. I feel like we learned a lot about this mysterious co-host guy, and now we're going to go to Gangsta Boo's birthday party, right?
No Jumper.
No Jumper, the coolest podcast in the world.
All right.
Swimming with our jeans on.
Later.
Peace. Nice.
Couldn't tell if that was boring or not.
No, that was good.